Atop the bluffs of the Missouri River, a short distance outside of Washington, Missouri, exists a treasure trove of 18th century Americana. The former chief of Missouri State Historic and Archaeological Sites, Wheelock Crosby Brown, has reconstructed an impressive collection of 18th century log structures from various sites and furnished them with hundreds and maybe thousands of artifacts from the French trading and westward expansion era. We met up with Crosby at his historic site and residence and asked him to show us around. The Fort Charrette current location is just on your left, a mile or two southeast of Washington on Old Highway 100, heading towards the town of Labadie. Let's meet Crosby.
Hello, my name is Wheelock Crosby Brown. I'm an architectural historian and a historian from the Mississippi Valley to the Rockies, from the Gulf of Mexico to Canada in the 15, 16, and 1700s. I was chief of Missouri State Historic Sites throughout the 60s and ran the archaeological program also. Quit them in 71, moved here to this Fort Charrette property, and then over a period of 25 years, marked, measured, photographed, dismantled, documented several early buildings, moved them here, including this fur trading post. This fur trading post operated from the 1790s to 1826 and was owned and operated by Joseph Chaudron, who came from Quebec City in 1762 and founded the village of Charrette 2 years before St. Louis. So west of the Mississippi in 62 was St. Genevieve, La Charrette, and Santa Fe, New Mexico. Came upriver in a dugout log canoe and founded the village. Lewis and Clark spent the night with him in the village, and the men camped a quarter-mile upriver. And the village was on the north bank of the Missouri River, south and slightly east of Marthasville. This building survived, and this was his trading post, because it was on a low hill, and so the flood of 1841-42, which destroyed the village, did not get to it. I saved it from the bulldozer after 2 months of archaeology on the site and finding hundreds and hundreds of French and Indian artifacts. I want to show you how the place got its name, and this, what we're going to pan on here, is the Charrette, which is the name of the place. As Frenchies paddled by this village, they would see this, because it often stood on the bank of the Missouri River, and say, oh, you know, there's a Charrette from Chaudron. So that's how it got its name. It's a two-wheel oxen or mule wagon, wooden wheels, wooden axles, no bearings, and it was what he hauled, the pelt bundles, 90-pound bundles, in the spring to the river, where he put them in the pirogues, dugout log canoes, hauled them to St. Louis, and traded the fur merchants in there for more trade goods and merchandise staples for him for the rest of the year. This is the central room downstairs of 3 rooms. The second floor was the place where the bundles of furs were stored throughout the winter. Trapping and trading only took place in the fall, winter, and spring, so when the pelts were prime. The archaeology that I did on the entire interior of this building showed me that this was the workroom. But the beautiful thing was, it also showed what was going on in this room and where. So I furnished it over many years in with artifacts and things I purchased as it would have been. In this area, we have the oxen and horse and mule trappings. We have the press here for pressing the beavers into 90-pound bundles. All the accoutrement for oxen, also his skinning draw knives to work the hides and clean them, and then a French fur bale scale with the King of France's seal right on it, which miraculously I found at an auction in Augusta, Missouri. The Osage women in Missouri would be in the fields scraping these hides with this elk hide scraper, and of course then they were weighed and bundled and taken upstairs throughout the winter. Behind me here is his blacksmith area. He had to do all of his own crafts and trade things here. It was a long way to St. Louis, and the bellows actually work, and the leather hat was to keep sparks and so forth from his hat. To my right is his workbench for doing woodworking and carpentry, garden tools, although the Frenchies were not doing professional farming or grazing. And in this corner are all of the log working tools, including the stack of hewing axes, which is the complete evolution of the hewing axe. This is the most valuable thing I own. This is a Spanish signal cannon which stood in the top of a 3-story round stone tower that the Spaniards built on the front lawn of what is now the St. Charles County Courthouse. They built it in 1763 when they bought this territory from France. And an old woman in town got it because the city bulldozed it, and she got this off the top of the tower, and with papers and documents. And it is invaluable because it is the only known surviving cannon that either fired for or by Lewis and Clark, because he says in the journal that as we approached St. Charles coming upriver, the signal cannon from the top of the tower fired to welcome us. And now, if you will, we'll go into his and his Osage wife and 2 children's living quarters. This was Joseph Chadron, his Osage wife and 2 children's residence, this one room. And of course a fireplace for heating and of course cooking every day with the cranes to swing her kettles. And here we have a water kettle called a apple kettle, and it's for fireplace, dates from the mid-1700s. It always hung in the same place. They had a spit here, and here it is, suspended by the andirons, which is driven by a clock jack, and it turns that spit once every 7 minutes. And I cook on it Thanksgiving and Christmas every year and feed friends. Interestingly, it was invented by Leonardo da Vinci in 1585. His original drawing for it is in the Milan, Italy Museum. But even more interesting, it was the very first weight-driven device ever invented. So all clocks were invented from his cooking machine. This is the actual trade room where the natives and the French trappers would come to trade for things that they needed. Bartering only. No cash traded hands. And in 40 years, I have not found one sentence of the French taking advantage of the Indians in trade. They were married to them, they lived with them. Unfortunately, I can't say that about the Americans, the British, or the Spanish. As you can see, they were trading for just about everything.
Now we'll head up to the main residence and check it out. It's a 98% original 18th century 2-story log home built by James Green in 1797.
This is my home. It's the James Green house, built 1797, moved into by James Green and his wife, February 1798. They came from New Bern, North Carolina, where he was one of 12 kids. The Green family were the first Anglo family to ever move into North Carolina from Jamestown. He came with 29 other men, as did Daniel Boone in 1799, when he entered Missouri from Kentucky, and by bringing along other men, both of them got their land for practically nothing. He got 800 arpents, about 1,000 acres, of the Missouri River bottom directly across the river from Chesterfield, which to this day is called Green's Bottom. also some hill ground where this house stood. As Chief of State Historic Sites, I saved it from being destroyed, and we marked, measured, photographed, did a set of measured drawings, moved it here and reconstructed it and finished it in 1972. I kept the house compass-wise just the way you see it, and I think perhaps that describes it the best.
You can tour Fort Charrette by appointment. Just call 314-239-4202. There's no charge, but donations are encouraged.